All right. Happy afternoon, everybody. How are we doing today? We're going to be jumping into this live stream. We're not going to wait too much longer. And we're going to spend a lot of time going through the second phase of the Capital Flywheel 2.0. It's going to be exciting. So like we did in the first one, this stream, comment in the chat real quick for me if this is your first time with me or if you've been with me many times. So first or many, type it in the chat, or if you just want to say hi, type in hi, and we'll dive into it here. Awesome. So whether it's your first time or your fifth time, I want to be clear about something. We are discussing the behind the scenes. So over the past 12 months, I've been refining the system and giving it some serious upgrades so we can create more income and be more consistent and boost the returns. So we're going to give you the simplified framework today, after all this hard work of refining the system. So hopefully you can build some real repeatable success. So it's not just an update. This is the start of something bigger, and you're going to get to see it behind the scenes. So today marks week 2 of a whole new rollout of how I teach the option selling wheel, the Flywheel 2.0. So over the last couple weeks, you've seen me unlock certain parts of the flywheel, and I'm going to continue to do that. So over the next couple weeks, I'm going to go through the next section and the next section, piece by piece. And if you stick around, you'll understand how to maximize a good market and survive the bad markets, so you'll feel more confident in your trades, clear in your decisions, and consistent in your results. So no hype, no more guessing. That's my goal. If you've ever had the winning trade, the big home run, and you couldn't repeat it, or if you've opened up your charts and you had no idea, you were overwhelmed of how to even get started out in the stock market, this might be the most valuable 90 minutes you put your time into this year, this live stream. So we're not pretending losses don't happen. We've had a couple bad trades this year using the flywheel, but we've bounced back. We've recognized what to do next, and we've gotten better through the system. So the difference is we have the framework to handle losing trades. We don't panic. The system tells us exactly what to do through the good and the bad. So with this system, the Capital Flywheel, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to have a process, an exact systematic approach to entering and exiting trades and managing. What's up, everybody here? First. Love it. So that's what I'm going to help you build here today. So if you're tired of guessing, if you're tired of FOMO, and you're tired of watching candlesticks every single day, tick, 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 you're in the right place. If that sounds good, let's rip it. So what we're diving into today, here's the full breakdown. Number 1, we want to tell you the mindset you need to adapt and adopt to be successful. Most people on the internet are luring you into the stock market to become a gambler. You want to be betting and panicking if things don't go wrong, and it's hard to ever be consistent being the gambler. And we'll talk about how that shift in mindset needs to happen if you want to reach your goals. And more importantly, how this second phase of the flywheel is the most important phase to master today. Number 2, phase 2. Why you should never panic when you're getting assigned shares through selling options. When you're doing the wheel, you should be more excited, and I'm going to prove it to you today, when you get the shares. And I'm going to tell you exactly what you should be doing when you own those shares. And next, I'll be breaking down a couple key trades I made last year using this Flywheel 2.0 framework. I'm talking my entry, my exit, how I use the assignment to my advantage, and how that produced a multi-six-figure year for me. I put hundreds of thousands of dollars into those two trades because I had a lot of conviction. So those we're going to be diving into. After that, we'll talk about timing, how the market's shifting should help you adapt your strategies and help you understand what to do in the different conditions. Because when things get volatile, you should get excited. You don't need to freeze. You need to understand how to make money through the chaos. So we're going to help you understand the system to help you stay calm and rotate smartly. Next, we're going to go deeper. We're going to show you the tools, the trade setups, and the private community that is helping traders win. So I'm going to show you how we're winning together, one premium at a time. The exact tools our traders are getting, the coaching, and how they're getting the support to take the guesswork out of this process. So they're reducing their risk of failure. And they're getting to their goals much faster because of it. And lastly, today we buffered a decent amount of time for Q&A. So if anything in here did not make sense, or if you're not where you're at or where you need to be, just ask me a question at the end of this and I'll try to figure out how to help you best. Cool. So if you're tired of piecing it all alone, I'm hoping today is where it stops. So before I dive into the good stuff, we have to do a quick commitment check because I don't want you throwing on this live stream while you're watching YouTube with someone else, while you're cooking dinner, while you're hanging out with your kids. This might be the one class that changes everything for you if you let it. So the first thing is we need to shift your mindset. You need to give up the gambling mindset, and you have to have the approach of the long-term investor if you want to be successful with the capital flywheel. Because we're not building the next hot setup for you to trade, make money on tomorrow. We're trying to build something you can use day in, day out, week in, week out, so you can collect those premiums in your sleep and repeat the same stock, the same setup, the same type of option every single week. Because how exhausting is it to have to find the next best trade? And sometimes it doesn't even work out. Number two, I need you guys to stay present. This is a lot of value packed into 90 minutes with a Q&A session. So in return, phones down, tabs closed, stay focused on what I'm dropping here. Take some notes, write this stuff down if you can. Number three, be coachable. I know you've seen different coaches, strategies, a lot of hype online, but over the next 90 minutes, forget everything you've ever learned. Sometimes the best way to reach success is to unlearn everything you thought you knew that's holding you back. Because this is, without a doubt, the number one way to reach consistency tomorrow and hit 5 to 10% a month. And I'm going to show you how that's realistic with what we do. So it's repeatable and simple, and we're going to give you the exact framework today that has allowed hundreds of traders that we coach to hit that benchmark of 5 to 10%. And fourth, no half trying. If this is clicking today, you got to go for it. You got to put in the trade that makes sense with the system we're going to show you and start learning through action. Because the people that are winning the quickest within the system are the ones that are implementing it the fastest. And they're not passively watching this happen. And finally, decide if what I show you makes sense. Be willing to make a decision. Yes or no. Just don't get stuck in the maybe land. And if you're with me on that, type in ready in the chat and we're going to rip it here, everybody. And we're going to give you an overall background. If this is your first time here, I'm Matt Giannino. I've coached 12,000 traders. We started this business in 2019. I started trading in 2017, and I built this system that doesn't rely on luck, timing, or 8 hours a day glued to the screens, because that's where I was in the beginning of my career. And I'm gonna tell you some stuff with this story that you've never heard before. So this is going to be interesting. But the end goal of me getting into the markets, me doing all this stuff, was to develop out the Capital Flywheel 2.0. So through that trial and error period, through all my struggles, this is what came out of it. And this is what I'm still using and refining today. And I'm going to walk you through the second phase of it, the assignment phase. But before we dive into the assignment strategy, I'm going to take you back to why exactly it was built, because you might relate to this story a lot. My background, graduated college, and I decided to go into the professional running space. And I gave up the whole 9-to-5 gig. I didn't want to get a job. I ran all day. I worked a little bit on my free time just to pay the bills. Just enough to pay the bills, nothing more to really enjoy a lot of things. Then, I think 6 months in, I broke my hip running 100 miles a week, trusting a coach that was a little insane. And I'm sitting on my couch, can't run for the next 6 months, wondering what to do next. You know, it's just the lowest point of me being a real adult, out of college, doing everything on my own, and everyone's questioning you. You know, why do you not have a job? Why are you still running? And then can you imagine being injured? It just felt awful. And more importantly, I had zero control over my future. How was I going to make money after running? How was I going to support my family? How was I going to do anything that involves finances? So have you ever had this weird feeling in your life where you just don't have that security in the future? Just type in yes in the chat. Let me know if anyone feels that right now, or maybe recently. Sorry. So I made a decision when I was on the couch, just hating my life, that I needed to build something that I could rely on. I taught myself trading. I was charting. I was learning options. I was learning stock. I had no clue what any of this stuff was. And this is back in the day when you had to pick up a book and learn. You couldn't go on YouTube. You couldn't go on Instagram. There was nothing common that you could pull to figure out trading. It was all basic stuff. Basic, what's RSI? You had to read this in Barnes & Noble one day before even trading. So just to take you guys back, a couple years ago, it was totally different than it is now. But with that very minimal amount of knowledge, I went and turned $3,000 into $50K. I'm not a genius. I'm not like a trading prodigy, but I got some type of system in place. And you'll never believe the trade that kicked this process off, or kicked this result off, that gave me the confidence, the trade that allowed me to be more confident and put more money into each trade, and allowed me to kind of push this account up to $50K. Because I was honestly, looking back, just getting lucky. I didn't really have a great system. I didn't have a good management on my emotions and my risk. And I'm going to break that down. But first, I want to go over this trade, because you might be relating to this story where you've been trading, you felt like you're gambling, and you've had that tug and pull of making a lot of money and giving it back. And this is really just the first round where I felt like a trader, and then I had to reset. But the trade that kicked off that $3,000 to 50K run was this stock called Tilray, which was the most overvalued pot stock ever. Like, it was the most overvalued stock in history. It was more overvalued than every other company. Like 70% of the companies, it was a higher market cap. It didn't have earnings. Basically, this was trash. And this company went from $20 to $300. One day I said enough is enough. I needed to short this stock. I put in $1,000 with my $3,000 account. And it went up. The stock kept going up. And I bought put options. So I was betting on the stock to go down. And I was instantly losing money. And my $1,000 trade had already lost $500. And a gut reaction that most traders have in this moment is to double down. So I added another contract and another and another because the stock kept going up and it didn't make any sense. It was overvalued. It was extended. It was trash. And something crazy happened that kickstarted everything. I probably wouldn't be here today if this trade didn't happen. I had all my money in puts on this stock, and in 30 minutes, there was a flash crash where it dropped 50%. And you can see in the chart here, the stock went from $300 to $150. A 50% crash in this stock in a matter of 30 minutes. That means my $3,000 went up to 15 grand. And I was stunned. I was shocked. And I was shaking. This is the most money I've ever seen, ever. My bank account had $2,000. My trading account had $3,000. And it just went up to 15. I've never been somebody that had more than 10K ever net worth. So this was life-changing. And this gave me the confidence. Now that I had more money, now that I saw a trade work out, to be more aggressive. So fast forward, I kept trading that 15K, kept trading it, but I was swing trading. And I was putting up 2 trades a week between work, between running. I was planning out trades. And I took the 15K to 25. And the reason why 15 to 25 is so important is because at $25,000, you can trade without restrictions. You can trade daily. You can trade 1,000 times a day. And you can't do that unless you're over $25,000. So the minute I passed that amount, I was trading instead twice a week. I was trading twice a day sometimes. I was day trading now. And this looks like a gift, but it ended up being a curse because greed got the best of me. I was making $5,000 to $10,000 a week. Once I passed 25K, every single week I was making 5 to 10K. And it felt like this was never going to end. I was going to be the richest person in the world. And basically, it all stopped. My account hit 55K to be exact. And this thought came into my head. And whenever this happens nowadays, I know what to do, but this crushed me. Basically, I hit 50K and I thought, this is too boring. I need to double it. I need to hit 100K. I need to go there fast. So I threw away whatever small system I had. I threw away risk management and I pushed myself to just hammer out the biggest next trade, even when there wasn't one. In this time, I didn't get lucky. My account got chopped in half, and I felt every emotion you can imagine. Sadness, frustration, anger, disappointment. I built and built and built this account, and I was on top of the world, and then it all crumbled one day. And the worst part is I tried to trade through the emotions the next day and lost another $10,000. And I just kept thinking, I could have bought a Tesla. I could have bought a Tesla. It killed me that I didn't, because I had so much money. I could have sold half of my account and got my dream car. So type in yes in the chat if you guys are in that day trading mode still, or if you've felt like you've had a system, you've lost it, you've had a system, and you've lost it at any point in your life. What's up, Hunter? What's up, Jared? So I'll never forget the emotions on top of the world and then to the worst day of my life. And ever since that, you might be wondering, why am I here today? Why would somebody be teaching trading with that backstory? And honestly, that was just the beginning, because what happened after the trading phase of my life is what shaped the future and the next path and the next person you see here today. It's the system I've developed after that you're about to witness and learn. And that's when I've moved on to option selling. You can trade, get so lucky for so long, and then one day it all crumbles. And at the other side of the trade, there's an option seller, and he's making all the money. So I decided to be that guy. So fast forward, sold an option on Spotify. I made $500, and I didn't stare at the charts. I didn't panic. I wasn't getting greedy. I was not needing to be right. I just put on the trade and walked away. And that's when everything changed. So over the next 7 years, that strategy gave me the consistency, the peace of mind, and the control I really needed. And something I felt was more helpful for the longevity of this. Day trading is great to make good money for a small period of time, but how can you keep doing that for decades? It's tough. And if you think option selling is not sexy, I'm going to change your mind. So I took $40,000 to $200K. $40K to $200K in 2021. Using the flywheel that you're going to see here today. This is like the first flywheel, the 1.0. This flywheel, done correctly, has the ability to make you 10% a week, 30% in a month, in the right plays at the right time, with a little bit more risk than how we teach our students. But still, this was the first time I ever felt like a full-time trader. And I wasn't a full-time trader on paper anymore, because I took out $100,000, 100K, there's a screenshot, and it went in my bank, because you're not a full-time trader until it hits the bank account, until it changes your actual life in some way. And it did change my life, because we got a house. I used some of this money for a house. When you're putting 3% down, like, you don't need that much money for a house. But I finally got my dream Tesla. So fast forward like 3 years later, after losing the money to get a Tesla, I finally pulled the trigger, bought it. And this was at the time where nobody drove Teslas. It was like something very unique. So it felt awesome. I felt on top of the world. And the flywheel made this possible. So that's why I teach today. I'm trying to help people be more consistent and avoid that stress and that up and down roller coaster that could never end if you're the trader. So fast forward 2024, best year ever. You've seen the stuff on YouTube, $350,000, and I did the same thing. The moment I felt a little bit greedy, the moment I felt like pushing it, I took out $250K, bought real estate. So I've learned through the process that taking out profits is a huge thing. So what I want you to take away from the story is the flywheel got me there. And the first iteration did. The second iteration is only better. That's what I'm going to run over today. Aside from the proof pudding, you've seen the stuff I mentioned last time. I was able to pay off my wife's student loans with the flywheel, get a dream home, get her out of a job she absolutely hated, and allowed us to raise our kids in the home we're in today. I mean, back 4 years ago, we were watching YouTube videos trying to plan our dream home like every single night. And we finally pulled the trigger and built the dream home we wanted. And that's just through consistently collecting premiums, we're able to put that together. We travel when we want with our kids, Disney World. We coach. We've allowed people to hit the same goals, hit the same big dreams that I've always wanted. My teachers that teach inside the program bought their dream homes with option selling. They've gone on their dream vacations with option selling. So the same stuff I've wanted, I've seen other people achieve in the same system. My two teachers sent me screenshots last month of a $40,000 month, both of them. So it's incredible. And if you're sitting here thinking, how do I make this sustainable? How do I bounce back from the next trade? How do I stop second guessing myself? Listen, I get it. I've been there. I showed you guys I was the trader dude. So you don't have to stay there anymore. So in the chat, type in your goal. In 12 months, where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? How much money do you want in your bank? If you had a big dream goal in 12 months, what is it? Hit it in the chat. So the big reason I had to shift from trading to option selling is because you gotta lose the gambler mentality if you want to be consistent in this space. If you're trying to chase breakouts, if you're trying to FOMO into momentum plays, and you're trying to time candlesticks and you're glued to the computer, you're gonna burn out mentally, and then eventually the account burns. So have you ever felt like you were in a trade, you got stopped out, but it went in your direction? That's the gamblers getting punished. You can still be right and lose money when you're gambling. So that is where we have flipped the script. You can be wrong and make money. You can be right and make money. You can be slightly wrong or right and make money. You can be massively wrong and still make money. The reason I love option selling is because you don't take losses. You take stock. It flips the script, so you're not a gambler anymore. You're becoming the house, you're collecting lottery tickets, and you're just selling them to people and trying to get premium from collecting that. So the problem is you haven't not tried hard enough, but most of the time you're given the incomplete picture. If you're in a Discord and they call out a trade, sometimes they don't tell you where the stop loss is. They don't tell you what the game plan is. Sometimes they double down without you knowing that was the strategy. Some Discords are just making up the strategy as they go. Every week it's something different. Even if they do have a strategy, sometimes they're just gatekeeping all the ins and outs of it. So if you're in these Discords getting flooded with alerts or just taking YouTubers tossed out ideas, you're going to be severely let down because no one's showing you the actual system. They're just showing you ideas. You don't have the bigger plan and you don't know how it all connects. So when the market shifts and you hit the losses, you're frozen, you're stuck, you're guessing and you're wondering, what happens now? And that's not how real trading and traders operate. They're not gambling. Real traders follow the process. They have a system that allows them to build flywheels and not house of cards strategies. So you might be thinking, I've tried stuff before, it didn't work, followed YouTubers, how would this be different? Is this just a fancy webinar to pitch trading courses? And I've been there, I've gotten excited, I've gotten let down. I've kind of done the same thing a lot in my career, trying to get a system in place. only to end up more confused than where I started. But the important difference is I don't use shiny indicators anymore. I use a decision matrix, something that tells me which option to choose, when to enter, how much capital to use, how to grow my account to the next level. The decision system keeps everything refined. So I'm not second guessing. I'm not making stuff up. It's an exact decision every day of what we need to do. And this is exactly what's being taught inside the community. So people that are just as overwhelmed as you, they're getting clarity and control instantly. So here's what I need from you before we get into it. Open those notepads, get out your pen, and just figure out what you need to implement to succeed. And ask yourself, what if this finally clicks? What if you're like my top teacher, Daniel, who put on his first trade 4 years ago, following my last system I gave him, made $200 a week, but kept at it. And then $200 a week turned into $1,000, turned into a $40K month. And he's one of the dudes that sent me a $40K screenshot last month. So what if it clicks? Where would you be in 5 years? So if you're still with me, let's get into what this is about. So what I've built and what you're going to start learning today is called the Capital Flywheel Method. It's not a course. It's not a Discord. It's a decision matrix. It tells you when to get in, what to trade, how to manage risk, and how to grow consistently no matter what the market throws at you. And it's structured because it's compounding, and it's broken into the 4 phases you see here: cash, assignment, covered call, and rolling out. Each one is designed to multiply your money faster every time you go through the flywheel. So every time you go through, it creates momentum in your portfolio, in your trading, and it allows you to hit the returns you're looking for and hit the goals you want to see. If you could just master one part of this system, it could change everything for you. You don't even have to master all 4. And that's what we're going to teach here today, is just one. So if that sounds good, type yes in the chat, and we'll rip into here, dive into it. Love your goals, everybody. Go to Italy. Italy's a great place. All right, week 1. We'll recap this if you missed it a couple weeks ago. What we do is we delete these videos after I teach them to keep it fresh, keep you guys interested, and keep you motivated to take notes and make sure you're getting the most out of these. So what we went over in week 1 was how to manage your cash. Selling put options basically ties up your cash to make income. So you put $5,000 on the line, you're looking for a 2%, 5% return, and you use a stock option to achieve that. So most of the time, traders are guessing. Which put do I sell? Which expiration date? Which strike price? And we've tried to simplify that in the first lesson. We try to use higher IV. So 50% IV is key. And we try to sell something simple as a 30-day option, just so you guys have an idea of what to go for. This is called cash stash. You're stashing your cash, you're making money off of it. And what we've talked about also in the first week was controlling your entries. You're not chasing the markets. You're doing this strategy when there's down days. If you sell options when the market's falling, it just lowers your risk in the market. So you have a higher chance of making money. You can get the stock at an even cheaper discount if you're selling on a drop. So that was a key lesson from the first one. And then the mindset shift, we've tried to convince people on week 1 and even week 2 to become the casino. If you're the gambler, you're like me early in my career, very high highs, very low lows, to end up sometimes where you started or worse. So let's break down the next phase of the capital flywheel. I mean, this is incredible. And if you can do this properly, you can make 3-4 times more money than the first phase. The cash phase looks for a 5% return. The assignment phase looks for a 15% return. What do you notice about this chart? It's been going up, right? Up, 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 and away. But people are always nervous to get assigned. You need to flip your fear. You need to be excited to be assigned in the markets selling options. Look at the markets. There's never been a moment you would be assigned and scared if you just kept holding. In fact, over the last 25 years, the markets have gone up 3,000%. So why focus so heavily on puts? Why focus so much of your time on selling option puts only? The truth is, your goal should be to ride a trend, even if it's just a piece of the trend. Put selling is just a tool to get into the trend. It allows you to continuously buy stocks within the trend at a discount. And if you're buying in that long-term trend and you're owning, that's where you can make more money. It's way, way, way more profitable than selling just puts. Because if you're selling a put on the index fund, this example here is 350 days out. You don't have to verify this, but it's a 5% return. If you sold a put on the index fund, you make 5%. The index fund will make 20% most times in the last 10 years. So 5% is way less than 20. And the average return for the markets is around 8 to 10%. So it's almost half of the average return. So if you just sold puts, sometimes you're barely beating inflation, especially if you're not selling puts correctly. So you got to be very careful only focusing on one side of the wheel. So the secret sauce I'm going to teach you today is how to get assigned strategically, safely, to take advantage of the uptrend so you're not just in line with the market return, but you're beating it. Because if you use the stocks I outlined from the first stream with the higher IV, those stocks will outperform the market, just plain and simple on their own. But if you do what I'm going to show you here today, it's going to be easier for you to outperform the market with those stocks. So going back to it, write this down. We don't fear getting assigned, we plan for it. You're flipping the script. You're wanting assignment, but you're wanting it on your terms. You're wanting a discount with a quality name. So imagine that moment where you can increase your profits just with this one switch. That's exactly what I want to show you here today. So this is exactly the framework I used. I'll give some examples that helped me take 150K to 500K last year. On average, that's a 20% return every single month. Matt, how do you do 20% a month? You're teaching your students to do 5. How do you get to 20? Well, it's because I've mastered the put selling, which is the first phase of a beginner to master. And then you have to graduate to actually owning something. That's where the real money is made. So I'm going to dive into the 2 strategies you can use to own shares. Own them correctly, own them well, own them at the right price. Was the Velco? Here's an example of one student I absolutely love. This is Jake. I sold a put making a 1% return. And Jake, instead of selling a put, he just bought the stock. And Jake made $2,500 in a single day, but he made 7% return while I made 1. Because Jake realized that there's more money to be made with stock. And the moment he felt comfortable doing that, he 7x'd his returns. So I love helping students get confident and comfortable with 5 to 10% a month, but it's not that hard to get to 20%. Jake hit 7 with 1 trade. So by using some of these secrets, I'm going to break down today exactly how even our traders in the past 30 days captured 15% return on TSLL, which is the Tesla Leveraged Fund. We intentionally sold put options to gain these shares, which I'm going to show you how to do that. But I said to the market maker, I want Tesla. I want it now. And I sold put options to pick it up. And what happened was we did pick it up. And then Tesla ripped this week and we exited this Monday morning at $13, which is amazing. So this side of the wheel, the stock side, was a 15% return. But if I just sold puts, I would have made 5. So allowing myself to do the other side of the wheel and doing this with our students, I tripled our returns together. So type yes in the chat if you guys want to triple your returns. And I'm going to show you the 2 ways to do that. Cool. So to beat the index, we'll go over it again. You need high IV stocks, quality names, and understanding the market condition. Down days, discount days, drop days. We like to sell options with these stocks on those days. So that's the most important lesson. So this is the first strategy I want to discuss, which is what we used on TSLL, Tesla. It's the quick accumulation technique. This is where you're selling a put option with a short expiration date and you're selling it at the money. This allows us to get the stock the next week for a discount. And then the other thing we're going to go over is the instant covered stock strategy. But the first strategy here for aggressively selling puts is for TSLL. Let's say you were to sell puts on this stock. If the expiration date is 7 to 10 days out, you're going to use that one, that expiration date. And if the strike price, if the current price of TSLL is $12, you're going to sell puts at $12 or $11.50. The reason why this is so exciting is because the premium for that option is so high. The return for this is 8% return in a week. So the reason why I love aggressive put selling is because I can make 8% in a week. Asking the market makers to give me the shares quick. I want to accumulate TSLL quickly. It's either going to hit my account as stock in a week, or if it expires out of the money, if we close over my strike price for option selling, I get 8% return. So it's a win-win. I get a massive paycheck or I get the stock at a discount. And the other thing you don't realize is when you have a strike price that you are trying to get assigned at or you're trying to sell an option at, you get to subtract your credit from that, and that's your ownership level. So the actual price, if I sold a $12 option on Tesla, for me to own this is at 11. So when you sell a $12 put, you're actually getting the stock lower. So that's why selling in the money, at the money, is not as scary as you think, because you're still getting a discount. But if the market runs, you're getting a bigger paycheck. This second approach, that's a great way to use this side of the wheel, is to just buy the shares right away and cover them. This is called instant covered stock. So you would buy at least 100 shares. That would allow you to write one covered call. And then you would do the same expiration date, and you'd shoot for a couple strike prices higher. So if the price of TSLL is $12, you would write a covered call at 13 and then buy the stock at 12. I like this side of the wheel and this strategy specifically when I'm bullish, when I'm excited, because it makes me more money. Let's say, for example, the market ran. How much would you make for both strategies if the market pushed Tesla higher within that 8-day expiration? This first strategy makes you 8% return on your cash. So you have your cash sitting there making 8% if the markets push. Strategy number 2 will make you 13%, almost doubling your profit. This is because when you buy a stock and write a covered call at the same time, you're getting two ways of creating income: appreciation and premium at the same time. Appreciation is where the stock price increased and hit your strike price. So if your strike price is 13 and your stock's at 12, you have $1 difference on profit. So $1 on profit, which is a 8% return. And the premium is the $50 you see here. That's 100% guaranteed money. So you add that to the possible profit as well. So there's two ways to make money when you're owning stock, but that's the whole point of this side of the wheel. There's two ways to make money. So you're either doing this side of the wheel instantly by buying shares, or you're trying to get assigned by selling the most aggressive short-term puts. This unlock should generate you 10% a month if you just never got assigned. Maybe 15 if you use the right stock. So I want to go over two examples. My historic year last year, $350K up in my account. These two stocks, I had multiple six figures of position size in, and they also gave me over 6 figures of profit each one. I went very heavy, and I played this system with these stocks strategically. So here's the big lesson. When I called out this trade on YouTube, TSLL last year, we traded sideways for 4 to 5 months. And I felt like a failure because I didn't get my profit in front of you guys quick. But what happened was I accumulated shares every week. And I just had a big bag of shares at some point. And I had so much stock, making so much income with covered calls, I was able to even buy more shares from that. And the moment this stock launched, it doubled in price in 2 weeks. So while I was waiting for this to happen, I had the biggest bag of shares when the moment it happened. And that led to my best month ever because I was patiently accumulating shares. So when you do this side of the wheel, you might not make 5% this month. You might not make 5% the next month. But on month 3, you might make 100% return. And I accumulated on a little bit more on the dip here, and then the stock ran 400%. So can you imagine not making money for 3 months, but having a 100% paycheck? having a 400% paycheck. Using TSLL last year was probably one of my best plays. And accumulating it was the best move while it was going sideways. The same thing happened with Bitcoin. I called this out on the YouTube channel around 60 to 70K. Again, I started when this was sideways and accumulated. It didn't profit. It didn't make me money in 30 days or even 60 days. But the minute the election happened and Trump became president, this stock doubled as well. So you can have 100% return in a month. And if you average out the last 3 that you had to wait for that, it's still a 30% return month over month. So you don't have to be very degenerate with this, but a small sprinkle in your system that you're already doing of shares, or just getting more comfortable, getting more aggressive, is the biggest way to increase your returns. This side of the wheel is the most powerful if you do it correctly. And this is how you scale yourself from safe income to massive, massive, massive growth. All from doing those 2 things I showed you. Strategic selling, you have to be patient, and you have to wait for the explosion, and then you have your paycheck. If you can do that process, that's where you're going to reach another level with the wheel. So recap today, from this side of the wheel, do not just sell puts and be afraid. The one student I talked to was afraid to ever own shares of stock. And he got assigned and he had to own stock. But what he realized after getting assigned is he had his best months ever. I think he doubled his account because he was finally owning a stock. So accumulating at the right time, at the right price, is the only tough thing to figure out. So you can use the aggressive puts we showed you. You can use the aggressive covered call and stock buying strategy. And if you focus on quality, high IV, and you time the market, you're going to absolutely crush it. I'm not kidding. So 6 questions. Type them out in the chat. Yes, if this hits home. So do you see how getting assigned stock, when planned correctly, can actually be a profit trigger and a way to make more? Question number 2. Can you picture selling puts on quality names with higher IV as a way to smartly buy shares of stock and creating cash flow either way, either getting the stock, getting cash flow, or doing covered calls? Number 3, would it help your confidence if you had one simple rule like, hey, 7 to 10 day puts at the money, that's what I'm going to be doing? If you had that one simple rule, would you be more confident in the markets? Would you be less hesitant to throw your money on and sell puts? Do you understand how selling covered calls on shares that you accumulate can help you generate better income and help you hit more upside? So basically, would it be less stressful if you had a repeatable structure instead of reacting to headlines and second guessing? And do you believe your long-term results are going to be stronger if you had tools, if you had a proven plan, if you had a support team, a community behind you every step of the way? If you're nodding your head along, or you felt that you do need the tools, it's not by accident. Again, something's clicking as I'm teaching this stuff, possibly with you, that this is the path. And Matt has a little unique view on it that is possibly going to get me to my goals faster. And you've seen the first phase of the flywheel getting 5 to 10%. You've seen the second phase getting 10 to 20. So maybe you've spent time in alert groups jumping from the hot setup to the next stock, and you're finally hoping that this next trade lands. Or maybe you've had some wins and you've never felt in control. But today you've seen how having a repeatable system can change everything, and applying it differently in different ways can really jack up your returns once you start mastering each phase of the wheel. So you've seen the difference from guessing to strategic execution, and more importantly, you've seen the proof, the trades, the results, and the real people that have been using this with less stress and more clarity. So you're already ahead of the learning curve because now you know what's possible. Now, I know you might be thinking, Matt, this sounds great. It also sounds kind of advanced. I'm not experienced enough for this. What if I mess it up? What if I blow up my account? And I have to say, I haven't had a losing cash secured put trade given to our students in 4 months. So you would definitely not be in a place to ever risk your capital to the highest degree. This is a relatively safe and repeatable system over everything else being taught on the internet. And I get it. I've taught thousands of traders, and every single one of them has had a similar thought. But here's the truth most people don't hear. It's not that the system is too complex. It's that no one ever walked you through step by step with the context, the real examples, the real support. So you're hearing these bits and pieces online, and then you're trying to piece it together. Take a few trades, and when it doesn't work out, you're kind of giving up on the stuff you're learning. But again, you weren't given the full picture. And that worst part is if you don't have the full picture, how are you going to be successful? So it can delay your entire financial future. Like I said earlier, I had that gambler's mindset. I had that early success, and I wanted that Tesla. And because I didn't have a system, because I didn't have a framework to continue succeeding in the markets, it took me 3 more years to finally get a Tesla. But honestly, guys, I care a lot about you. Your money's on the line. You want to reach your goals faster. And one bad trade can set you back weeks and months. And I've seen good traders walk away, not because they didn't have potential, but because they didn't have structure. They didn't have a system or support to make it work consistently. And I don't want that for you. So you're not going to be a doctor winging a surgery. You're not going to be winging a real estate deal, trying to guess if this house you're going to buy is going to cash flow or not. You're going to do a lot more diligence with those things. So why wouldn't you apply that same diligence and thoughtfulness in your trading? And that's exactly why I built the flywheel. So it's not just, again, it's not a Discord with 1 million alerts. This is the decision framework to help you step by step understand how to have your cash make money, how to get assigned and produce the maximum amount of profits from that side of the wheel, and then how to exit to go to the other side. It's a step-by-step system, and again, we're trying to give you the exact support to implement it perfectly within your accounts. So it's about having the right tools with the right community and the right framework. So you don't need more tactics. You just need a repeatable game plan you can trust. And that's exactly what I want to show you next. So my favorite example in history is Daniel, because the dude had $2,000 the first time he started using the option selling system I put on YouTube. I gave away a free credit spread selling system, and he turned $2,000 into 20,000, making $200 a week, then $1,000 a week. Then eventually he's at this point where he's had multiple 40K months. And just like I said earlier on this stream, he had a $40,000 month last month. And he became one of the top students of the year. He got to sit courtside at the Nuggets with his wife. So he didn't become a genius overnight. He used the system I gave him. He didn't give up on it. And he made sure he found success through option selling. So the biggest cost in trading isn't the money you're losing, it's the time you're losing. Stuck on the sidelines, trying to reinvent yourself, trying to bounce back from a loss, trying to deposit enough money to get your account back up to where it was before, trying to earn your way back. It takes a while to come back from big losses. They could set you back years. And let's be honest, bad trades happen, even to the best, myself included. I had a couple losses this year, some with risk, some without that much risk, but I've bounced back and stayed on the path today. I didn't spiral, I didn't freeze, I didn't spend months scared, not able to take the trades I wanted to, because I have a system that's telling me exactly what I need to do today. So I reset and I'm moving forward. And a few years ago, I didn't have that. And I ended up stuck very, very long, stuck for months. And when you're stuck, you have to reinvent the system, find something else. And it takes a while to actually get something that works. So every month you delay is another month your cash just sits. Or worse, you're getting chipped away by these discords calling out random stuff, half-baked strategies, and you're playing the YouTube roulette, just throwing a bunch of random stuff in your account. So that delay's costing you that trip with your family, that dream home you want to upgrade to, or maybe, like I said earlier, paying off the debt that you guys might have, that big burden. So I'm not trying to be dramatic here. I'm telling you because I've lived it. I know what it's like to waste time second guessing, to question yourself when the market's pulling back, when a trade goes red, and to wonder if you'll ever hit a winning month again. That's exactly why I built this framework and why I built the community and the tools. So I want to see less and less traders like you have to go through those pains. I want to be real with you guys. The tools and the community, they're not for everybody. We only work with people that are coachable and serious and ready to take action. And if someone shows up like that, they're fast and decisive and ready to implement, they're winners with us every single time. So if this clicked for you today, don't waste another month if you should have started today. And if you're still watching, you're not just watching for fun. You're here because you felt it. The way we trade, the flywheel, the focus on the system. It's something you understand. But more importantly, it's something we want to help you live. So I want to go into the best path to get this system and get every resource we could give you with our ultimate coaching package. This is probably the best program most traders are going to get that want to take this seriously. Like, you actually want to run the flywheel tomorrow and you don't want to keep watching from the sidelines. So this is exactly where I suggest you start. And it's 12 months long and it helps you master the capital flywheel and everything you need, fully supported. So everything we would give you is 1 year access to live streams where you'll get trades. Some streams are taught by 6-figure students that have demonstrated the ability to be profitable for at least 18 months. You have the ability to have the exact framework of a course to see how this system works for life. You can have lifetime access, the consistent updates to the flywheel 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. You don't have to rebuy this system to see the upgrades. And you'll have access to the community so that you don't have to do this all alone. And more importantly, we just developed a software to help you take trades without hesitation, know exactly how much capital to use, and you'll be able to post those trades on our social media feeds and learn from other traders at the same time. It's something I'll talk about at another time, but we're going to gamify trading like you've never seen it before, where you could follow the best traders in market moves, see what trades they're taking today, and learn from them. And lastly, you'll get 3 one-on-ones with me. We'll break down what you're trading, what your mistakes are, and where you need to go if you want to level up. You'll also get unlimited text and email support because sometimes you don't need a webinar. You just need a quick gut check from someone who's done this. So this package is not for people who are dabbling. This is for people who want to win and want to treat their accounts like an asset that need to produce cash tomorrow. Now, I know some of you might not be ready. Maybe this is not something you can put your full focus on today, but just be aware we do have smaller programs, some without the AI coach, some without the software, if you want to ease into it. And some people who want to take this to the next level, I can meet with some students even monthly. So all you need to do is click the link below or scan the QR code, answer a few questions, and then hop on our call with our team. They're going to be honest with you. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions to see where you're at and see if they can help you. So it's no hard selling, no pressure. We're just trying to get clarity on where you're at and where we can help push you. So the worst case is that you hop on one of these interview calls and we tell you you're not a fit, or maybe you feel that the flywheel can't get you to your goals. And we'll be honest. So the system's here, the coaching is here, the next move is yours. At this point, I'm going to save, like I said, the last 30 minutes here for Q&A. So if you guys have any questions on the flywheel phase 2, feel free to ask me. And you might be wondering, even in the coaching, your questions about coaching, is your account size too small? What should you focus on? Is it too late to get started? We can answer any questions to see if you're a good fit to be a student, and we can help you hit a certain goal. So if anything's unclear, if you're wrestling with anything, just drop it in the chat. I'm going to hang out as long as you need me to answer questions. All right, questions in the chat. I'm going to rip through them. Just keep dropping them. I'm going to go from the top to the bottom, everybody. What is your recommended starting capital for this system? That's a good question. So I would say I'll pull up. It really depends on your risk tolerance and how you apply the system. Because you could sell low risk puts, or you could take as little risk as possible and have a very high win rate. You could take the most risk as possible with less capital and probably have the same returns. So it's just a balance of trying to figure out how much makes sense for you. But just in terms of, is this a system that could blow up my account at any moment? No, not really, especially after we already had a flash crash this year. Over the past 4 months, we've seen 81%. Let me move my face here. 81% from all the puts we've sold. So over the past 4 months, if you put your whole account in each trade, you might have hit 81% in the last 4 months. And it's been a great 4 months. I would say the sell-offs, the corrections, they're where we're very strategic, we're very intentional. but you could kind of blindly sell options now and generate some income. But if you do our system correctly, you could hit really, really incredible amounts of consistency and growth. So it's just a matter of how much money you want to put down and how much you're looking to hit. Option selling, like I said here, just selling cash secured puts like 80%. If you bought any stock in the last 4 months, I've had students up 200%. So this student went from $20,000 to 50. So this was more of a leap portfolio. This student was kind of looking at leaps. This student hit 30% return in 6 months, but it was $200,000. His portfolio is more option selling for CSPs. Facilitator is probably a mixture of a little bit of risk and a little bit of put selling. So he does both sides of the wheel probably at the same time correctly. And he had a 42% month in June. And one student's up 200% in the last year with mixing in some leaps. And yeah, I mean, it's a matter of how much risk you want to take. If you take low risk, I don't see any reason to hold money back from this system. The Tesla bot, we'll release the bot in a couple months, so stay tuned. We might give free access to the current students, so just stay tuned for that. The fees are going to be, I think, $2K to $30 to $50K. So there's kind of a range. And I would, again, be on the interview call just telling the Velco or Jason what you need and what you're looking for. And we're just going to try to get you something that fits. Basically, you should be able to pay it off in a month, 2 months. And that's kind of the goal. We're just going to at least give you the trades to get 5 to 10%, and you just have to take them. Like it shouldn't be that hard to make money. And then secondary, you have to find a way to learn this system. Like you have to make 5 to 10% on your own. And the faster we weed you off our system and our trades to creating this on your own is the goal. So Brandon, if you open covered calls on those explosion days, wouldn't you miss the larger move? Or do you buy back covered calls? The covered calls, like we have a framework to even putting on how, like the percentage of covered calls. So we'll tell you exactly to cover 1/3, 1/2, or the whole position based off the spreadsheets we'll give you and the tools. So it's so dialed in, you'll know exactly what covered call to put on, how much to put on, and basically how to manage it. So if you use the tools properly, you're going to be in a good place to not miss the explosion move when it happens. Because if you cover half, you at least have half to explode. So it's kind of down to a science. Nice job on Coles. Cole. All right, so I'll roll back to a couple of the slides here from the kind of the strategies to sell puts aggressively or the strategy to sell calls aggressively. If you guys have any questions on this, just let me know. Yeah, you got it, Brandon. But I'll hang out for probably 5 more minutes here. What's up? Instagram Juan. Love it. I guess I can give you guys also a sneaky peeky of the social media feed we're developing. So we're going to be probably the first coaching program ever in history to, have a social aspect to it where you're going to be able to post your trades. You're going to be able to follow other traders and you're going to be able to see their stats. So if you wanted to see the top 10 traders in the program, you can. If you want to see the top 10 traders in their trades, you can. You can go to the open trades tab and basically every student's going to have their open trades here and then their closed trades here. So you could literally every night just dissect the best traders in the program. And we're helping a lot of traders hit levels that are even way further than you might want. So it might be fun to kind of go through and see how are those traders getting to that level? What are they doing differently? And this is kind of the thing we'll release in 10 days, but this is going to help you learn, help us monitor your trades, coach you better. We can see if you're lagging in our program and if we need to push you. So it's going to be a way for us to coach you even better. What delta would you consider selling aggressive puts? Good question. Pretty much we just sell 1 to 2 strikes out of the money, 7 solutions. We call that high risk selling. So no deltas, just going to go 1, 2 strikes down. MD, you can take notes on the video when you get home. Yes, sir. We're going to delete the video in probably 2 days, so rewatch it if you want. Take advantage. But it's going to be available if you need it. Yeah, so we'll pop on basically the next week. I think in 2 weeks we'll do the third side of the flywheel. And so if you want to be ready, mark it on your calendars. I think we'll do probably 2 p.m. On Tuesday in 2 weeks. So August. And then we'll kind of go through each phase of the flywheel each time. All right, fam. Appreciate you. Have a good week in the markets. Peace, peace.